The world has been preoccupied with the corona pandemic for 2 years now. At almost regular intervals, major and minor scandals around Prime Minister Boris Johnson come to light, who apparently does not adhere to all the measures taken. Yeah, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is once again faced with allegations that he did not adhere to the applicable corona rules. As reported by the British media, Johnson did not go into isolation after coming into contact with a corona-infected person. The incident was about a year ago. According to the Daily Mirror, the Conservative head of government stood for around 50 minutes at the official New Year's address in 2020 near a cameraman who later tested positive for the coronavirus. The man had therefore not worn a mask during the shoot. Well, government employees then went into isolation. Johnson himself was not among them. A government spokesman defended the move, saying, "The Prime Minister was socially distant from the person who subsequently tested positive, and the filming time was less than 15 minutes. Johnson was not advised to isolate himself." In July 2021, there was criticism because Johnson and his his finance minister, Rishi Sunak, initially did not want to go into quarantine after contact with the health minister, Sajid Javid, who tested positive. The government had announced that both politicians would take part in a pilot project. Instead of going into self-isolation, they wanted to get tested for the virus daily and continue their work. This announcement met with criticism from the opposition and the public. In the end, they both went into isolation. Further allegations against Johnson go back even further. According to media reports, he should have participated in a celebration in spring 2020, despite strict corona contact restrictions. About 20 employees had gathered on May 15th in 2020 after a press conference with alcoholic beverages and pizza in the garden of Johnson official residence on Downing Street, the newspaper Guardian and the newspaper Independent reported in mid-December, and I made a video about that one already. Johnson stayed for about a quarter of an hour. He said the teams deserved a drink because of their work in the pandemic. And so many nurses and stuff don't deserve a drink but are not allowed to. Okay. The then Minister of Health, Matt Hancock, had previously called on the population to stay at home if possible, to stick to the rules and not to take any risks. Johnson's spokesman said employees had regularly used the garden for meetings. On that day, after a press conference, the Prime Minister had a few meetings in the garden, including with the then Minister of Health and his team. Johnson returned to his residence shortly after 7 p.m. Yeah, and a photo of a Christmas quiz during lockdown times also caused a stir. The Sunday Mirror newspaper published a screen recording on December 12th in 2021, showing the head of government, flanked by colleagues, taking part in an online quiz in his London seat of government. One colleague wears a Christmas hat, another a garland around her neck. The quiz took place on December 15th, 2020, and Johnson, as the quiz master, asked a few questions. But the problem is, in London, there were strict corona restrictions at the time. Meetings between different households were prohibited. He was accused of personally violating corona rules. According to the PA news agency, Downing Street confirmed that the quiz took place digitally. Johnson took part briefly to thank his employees for their hard work over the past year. According to the Sunday Mirror, many employees gathered in offices in front of computers during the quiz and drank alcohol. Johnson himself commented on the report a little later, saying, "I definitely haven't broken any rules." Like several others, the event will be part of an investigation, although they had to find someone new to do that, as we know. Great Britain is currently confronted with ever new record numbers of new corona infections. This is mainly due to the Omicron variant of the virus. As recently, more than 200,000 new infections were reported within 24 hours. The number of hospital admissions for COVID-19 has also been rising again for some time. Regardless of the increasing number of infections, the British government does not want to impose a new corona restriction for the time being. The country must try to live with COVID-19, wrote Health Minister Sajid Javid in an article for the Daily Mail newspaper on Saturday. There will only be new restrictions as an absolute last resort. Unlike the regional governments of Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, the British government, which is responsible for health policy in England, did not tighten the corona measures over the holidays. Instead, Johnson is relying on an increase in the vaccination rate. In his New Year's Eve message, he called on people to make vaccination their New Year's resolution. It is much easier than losing weight or keeping a diary. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.